Hi, hello, hi, and welcome back to Yapping with Isabella, the channel that does exactly what it says on the tin. I'm Isabella, and today we're going to be yapping about Good Omens, more specifically the Series 3 finale. Now, I know that a lot of you have mixed feelings about this, a lot of you absolutely despised it, and I'm sorry to say that I don't agree. Me and my partner actually really loved it. I really enjoyed it and I thought they got it spot on for what I would have liked the ending to be. Let's go back to the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. So let's talk about Good Omens Season 1. Now, I personally think that Good Omens Season 1 is basically perfect media. I just think it's absolutely incredible in every way, and here is why. I am really into religion and morality, and what I absolutely adore about Good Omens Season 1 is I think that it poses all those questions perfectly. It makes us think about the nature of good and evil. It makes us question what we've always been taught. It makes us question authority figures, and when we're told that that person is above reproach and is 100% right and knows what they're doing, it says, but do they really? Maybe we should question that. And it has a lot of critiques on political systems and the way the world is run that I find absolutely fascinating. The other thing I love about it is I adore the human cast of characters. I think that they're brilliant, and I think that they work really nicely to complement the celestial and infernal characters. The message of Good Omens Season 1 is maybe there is a divine power, but at the end of the day, humans are the ones that matters. We have free will and we can make decisions over our own lives. I feel like a lot of people like Good Omens because they like Aziraphale and Crowley and they like their relationship, which totally fair enough. I totally get that. When I'm reading fanfiction of it, I am often reading stuff about their relationship because it is a really interesting dynamic. I find the angel and the demon aspect that's endlessly fascinating. And as an asexual person, I love seeing characters that are very much written as a queer platonic pairing, which I adore, and having characters that exist outside of the realms of normal human heteronormativity, I think that's really interesting. But at the end of the day, their relationship is not the main reason I like Good Omens. I like it because of the moral and religious stuff, and I think the storytelling is brilliant, and I think the humor is incredible. I mean, the TV show is not like super laugh out loud funny, but the book I think is one of the funniest pieces of media ever written. I highly recommend reading the book if you haven't, because it is genius. And then Season 2, the reason I hate Season 2 is because I feel like they understood that a lot of people were watching because they were interested in Aziraphale and Crowley's relationship, which again, totally fair enough. I love that for you guys. And so they decided to fully focus on that. And I think that makes it lose a lot of its meaning, because the whole point of Season 1 is that at the end of the day, humans are the ones that matters. I think them are utterly fascinating. You've got this human antichrist who is going to be going through teenagehood, who's going to be exploring the world, who's trying to come to terms with the fact that his parents aren't actually biologically related to him, that his whole understanding of the world has been flipped on its head. I think that's really fascinating, and to not explore that I think is just a missed opportunity. And then Anathema, I just love Anathema, and I wanted to know more about her and interact with her more. And then Madame Tracy and Shadwell and you, I just think the reason Good Omens Season 1 works so well is that it really is a fascinating cast of characters that all come together and complement each other really well. And then Season 2, I mean, I like Maggie and Nina and Muriel. They're good, but I just find them way less compelling than the cast in the first season. I just think it loses so much of what was so amazing about Season 1, and I think that is very much because it was written just by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett wasn't involved, and I think you can really feel that. It does have the feeling of other shows like The Sandman, which I love The Sandman, but I don't love it anywhere near as much as Good Omens. I know if I was expecting it to be like The Sandman going into it, I probably would have enjoyed it more, but I was expecting it to be like Good Omens Season 1, and then it wasn't. And I know a lot of people hate the ending, but I actually think that that is the best part of the entire season to me. I think it's a really interesting character study of them. At first, as everyone else did, I was like, Aziraphale, what the hell are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? That's bad. Stop it. Be nicer to Crowley. And then I thought about it and I was like, no, Crowley is the one in the wrong here. Like, what? He has seen how humans conduct their relationships and has decided that his and Aziraphale's relationship needs to look more like that. And so then he kisses him without his consent, and Aziraphale is clearly like, bro, what is happening? This is crazy. What are you doing? And Crowley is clearly kind of doing it because he thinks he should, and which I also love that they left that open to interpretation, because I was really disappointed when they kissed, because I was like, oh, okay. But now we're kind of implying that to have a relationship you have to kiss. So I was really glad that it was then kind of seen as a mistake. I think both of them do regret it. And I found it really fascinating. You know, you've got these characters that for 6,000 years Crowley has been trying to convince Aziraphale to go against his own thoughts of what are right and wrong and his own sense of morality and his own loyalty to heaven, and instead prioritize what is best for the humans, and to understand that it's much more than black and white. Like, most of the world is a grey area. And so then Crowley is really upset and hurt when Aziraphale then actually listens to what he said to him and goes against what he as an individual wants, and instead goes, well, the humans need someone in heaven who actually cares about them. I don't want there to be another apocalypse. I want to stop things from being corrupt. Like, this is bigger than me. I want to do something worthwhile with my existence. And Crowley's like, no, but we could just run away and let everything burn. And I'm like, bro, in season 1, you were so like, yeah, we have to save everyone, yeah. And then season 2, you're like, yeah, just leave them to fend for themselves, because let's just run off, the two of us. And I'm like, okay, King. And then he's shocked Pikachu face when Aziraphale actually does the right thing and goes to heaven. And everyone else, all of us, were also shocked Pikachu face. And I was like, this is the first time Aziraphale is like shown proper growth as a being and is really prioritizing others' needs over his own. And maybe you can go, oh, he's choosing heaven over Crowley. He's not. He's choosing humanity over himself. And I think that's really fascinating. And then Crowley chooses himself over Aziraphale and humanity. Crowley could have been supportive in that moment, and he wasn't. And I think that that really sums up the push and pull of their relationship over 6,000 years, and shows that, you know, they're not good at communicating. They've got such different ideas, and they don't tend to listen to each other, and their relationship kind of sums up, yes, they are more human than any of the other angels and demons, but at the end of the day, they are still from heaven and from hell, and they still kind of have these fixed ideas in their head about that, and are quite rigid with their ways of thinking, which I find really, really interesting. And so I think that the last like 20 minutes of season 2 is like the most interesting part of the entire season. I found the rest of it really quite boring. I guess I just wanted more exploration of religion and morality, and I didn't. I mean, there was a bit of it, but I felt like it was much more surface level than season 1. And that's season 1 and season 2. So now let's talk about my feelings on season 3, which I'm sure is what most of you are here for. I mean, I think it's such a shame. I think season 2 should have been 1 episode and season 3 should have been a whole season. So it's a shame that it was flipped the other way around, because I think season 3 had so much potential and it did feel really rushed. And I feel like there were a lot of loose ends left. But at the same time, I think that is good, because you want there to be loose ends so that people can tug on them and make up their own theories and everything, because I feel like Good Omens really is a place that really encourages that, which I absolutely love. Obviously it should have been 6 hours and it was 90 minutes, so it did feel rushed, and I think there was a lot of stuff that didn't get explored properly, but I think they did a really good job with the time that they had. I enjoyed all the angels kind of unraveling, and some of them turning out to be better than we thought, and I really enjoyed that Michael was the villain. I thought that was really interesting, flipping it on its head. I mean, in the first season, obviously both the angels and the demons were kind of the villains, but I really enjoyed that Michael really had enough and kind of lost their mind a little bit and decided to destroy it all in place of the Antichrist. I thought that was really interesting. And really explores how these religious systems can corrupt you and make you lose sight of the bigger picture, especially when you feel like you're just a cog in a machine. I really enjoyed that. And then the ending, I actually really enjoyed. I enjoyed having God be there in person. She wasn't characterized in the way that I imagine her from the first season. I thought, you know, in the first season, I thought she was it was very cool that she was very hands off, and was clearly kind of like, yeah, I made it, but I'm also gonna let you guys work it out for yourselves. I really enjoyed that. And then having her turn up and be like, actually, no, I've changed my mind. I'm gonna destroy it all. I was a bit like, okay. But I also think, you know, if we truly do believe that she is omniscient and omnipotent, then she would know exactly what was going to happen, and she would know that when she asked Aziraphale and Crowley what they thought, she would know what their answer would be. So my interpretation of it is that she wanted to create a world without angels and demons because she'd seen how much they'd become corrupted and how it just wasn't working as a system anymore, and she regretted having that as a system and wanted humans to have complete free will. And so, but she couldn't just make that decision on her own, because then again, it's nobody's free will that's made that decision, it's her making that decision. So then is it really a true blank slate if she's made that decision for herself? So I think that is why she kept Crowley and Aziraphale around, because she knew that they were the most human of the demons and the angels, and that they would make that decision, which is the one that she wanted. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's like suicide, like they let themselves die. I don't agree with that. I think that's because of my spiritual beliefs about consciousness and souls. I believe in reincarnation, and I believe that your souls are what makes you you, and that they can continue throughout many lives. So when I get that if you believe that memories and experiences and your physical form are what make you you, then it would feel like they had died and been replaced with people that just look like them. But because I believe in souls and consciousness, I think that they are them. And even if you don't remember your past lives, obviously most of us don't remember our past lives. I think some children do, but most of us don't remember them. But it doesn't mean that they didn't happen and that they didn't shape us and make us the people that we are now. And I think that those experiences don't have any less weight just because we've forgotten them. And I'm like, you know, in the same way as I feel that it's not a tragedy when someone who's 85 dies after living an amazing life and who is ready to go. Like, it's sad that they're not here anymore, but also they were ready for that. They lived an amazing life. Like, it's not a tragedy. It's just sad. I feel that the same about Aziraphale and Crowley. Like, they were over 6,000 years old. Like, they had lived thousands of lifetimes and seen the world and done a lot of amazing things, and kind of reached a point where, you know, they felt like they couldn't do anymore, and that actually the world that they were in meant that they could never fully realize themselves, because there was always going to be this heaven and hell thing hanging over them. Maybe they knew that they would get to live as humans. Maybe they thought that they would actually just disappear. Either way, it was their choice. And I do believe that that is important, that free will is important, and that, you know, the choice that they made, they didn't choose to die, they chose to let humanity live. And I think that's a really important distinction, because throughout the entirety of season 1, you have this kind of conflict between what them as individuals want and what they know is probably the right thing for humanity. And we have these angels and these demons who are supposed to care about humanity, but actually really care about themselves and are very selfish. And the point of Aziraphale and Crowley is that they're supposed to be kind of the antithesis of that, and they're supposed to be learning, oh, we do actually have to put humanity first. And so you have this kind of internal battle with both of them the whole way through, and then season 2 especially, there's like more of this internal battle. And in season 1, Crowley chooses to put humans first and kind of drags Aziraphale along with him. In season 2, Aziraphale chooses to put humans first. And then in season 3, both of them decide. And I think that shows a lot of growth from both of them, and I feel like that shows that they had reached the point of being kind of finished as beings. They'd reached their like full potential, and they were very happy to go, and you know, they were glad to do it together and glad to know that them going meant that humanity got a proper chance to exist. A lot of people are like, well, why didn't they just get it so that angels and demons don't have power anymore? Why did they all need to disappear? So if you have these angels and demons and gods and the devil who have this power, it doesn't matter if you take that power away from them. They still are the same beings, and they're still going to want that control. And I don't think that they're going to give up that without a fight. There's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going down, and you're not gonna get a resolution from that. The whole of history has been kind of poked and prodded by these celestial and infernal beings. So how much of history is actually free will, and how much of it has been a divine plan? And can we ever truly be free when we have this divine plan hanging over us? I really love the getting rid of that and saying, look, religion is what you want to make of it. Religion can just be a human thing, and it's the stories we tell ourselves, and that doesn't make the stories less powerful or less real. But at the end of the day, it should be our stories that we are telling. It shouldn't be the stories of anything else. Like, we should get to make our own decisions. And so I really like that that is given back to us, and you know, the whole of human history gets to happen the way it actually did happen, rather than like 6,000 years ago, the dinosaurs are a joke, blah blah blah, which I really enjoyed in the first series. But you know, I really like that we're given a clean slate. And you know, people are like, oh, but they don't get to be immortal anymore, like they only get to live one life. And I guess it depends what you believe about that, because I believe in reincarnation, and the fact that they were themselves just in our time period, I think that's very random. Why would they just get to be human in our time period? I think it makes a lot more sense for them to have kept living lots of different lives throughout history, the same as they always have done, and the common thread being that they find each other and get to explore the world together. And what I also really love about them as humans is that they never kiss. I really am very grateful for that, and that the relationship isn't defined so clearly. It means that, I mean, obviously I would love if they were to say, oh, we're an asexual couple and we're in a QPR, which is very heavily implied in the books. The singular book. But I also think that that would take away a lot of enjoyment from people who don't want them to have that sort of relationship, and I totally get that. And obviously I'd rather, you know, people, because that's the argument about queer baiting as, oh, we don't want to take it away from other people. And obviously I'd love if people were just brave and went, okay, no, we're gonna have it be like this. But I also get the, as queer people, we're constantly kind of fighting amongst ourselves to get crumbs of representation, and I think with something that's so good with representation as Good Omens, we shouldn't like take that away from people, I guess. But I'm really glad that, you know, it's very clear that they love each other very much, but it's not defined in which way they love each other. I absolutely adore that, and I love all the angels and demons getting to be humans, because throughout they don't really ever get to explore who they really are or what they really want from the world, because they just have to follow orders. And so seeing them all in the pub just getting to exist and make friends with each other, I just think that that's a really healing, wonderful moment of like saying, you know, at the end of the day, we're just people, and doesn't matter what side we're on, what our religious beliefs are, what part of the political section we're on. Like, at the end of the day, we are people, and I believe that the main thing that humans are here for is to love and be loved. And I think that that's the fundamental truth of humanity, is that we want to love each other, and sometimes that gets twisted into hate or misunderstanding or miscommunication. But at the end of the day, if you talk to anyone from any point of the political spectrum, most of the time they do think that they're doing the right thing for themselves, for their families, for the ones they care about. What I love about Good Omens is it saying, it doesn't matter whether you're going to go to heaven and hell. It doesn't matter if they're real or not. It doesn't matter if God exists. What matters is what you do on earth. These are the decisions that matter. Nothing else matters. Live your best life now, in the moment, for love and compassion, and just live, it doesn't matter. There's not people looking over you all the time making decisions about your life. You are the one who gets to make your decisions about your life. And I think that the way Good Omens season 3 ended, that is what that is saying. You know, as long as there are angels and demons looking over us, we are not truly getting to live fully and completely in the here and now on earth. There is always some fear about heaven or hell or the divine plan or whatever. And so I love that about season 3. Again, I think whether you like season 3 or hate season 3 is very dependent on what you're watching Good Omens for. If you're watching it because you like Aziraphale and Crowley as an angel and a demon and you want them to be together and kiss, then you probably won't like season 3. If you're watching it because you're really interested in morality and religion and what it is to be human and really digging into those big questions that come up with religion and theology, then I think season 3, I think it's great. And I really enjoyed the fact that someone has clearly been reading fanfiction and taken tropes and put them in. So the fact that they live in the South Downs, like, that's so fun. That is so fun. And also I think the way it's set up is to let you believe whatever you want to believe about it. If you want to believe, as I do, that they get to reincarnate and live lots of different lives, and maybe they occasionally remember their past lives as humans occasionally remember their past lives, and maybe they might remember times of being an angel and a demon, or hear it in stories, whatever. Or if you want to believe they just live one little human life and they're happy with that. Or if you want to believe that God creates this parallel human world and then also decides, actually, I don't want to stop existing. So after it all goes black, let's remake this world as well and let them exist simultaneously, and we can still have angels and demons and messiahs and antichrists and all the rest of it, and Aziraphale and Crowley get to run off together and it's all tickety-boo or whatever. That's the point of stories. Good stories should make you want to go and tell more, and they should make you want to think about it and come up with your own versions and really explore and dig into it and just, you know, enjoy it. And whether you're heartbroken or overjoyed as I am with the ending, that's okay. Like, if you disagree with what I've said, great. That is the whole point. We should all have come away from it with different ideas and different beliefs. So if you have different ideas about it, if you have different thoughts about it, I'd love to hear them. Please let me know in the comments, because I find it fascinating and I just really enjoy like digging into stories and understanding them and coming up with new ideas, and also I think every story, even though it's one story, it's not really. It's as many stories as people who are enjoying it, because each of us bring our own life experiences and beliefs and thoughts and emotions onto that story and make it into something different and unique and special to us. And I hope that you enjoyed hearing my silly little thoughts. But yes, have a tickety-boo day and I will see you in the next one. Ta-ta!